Inscription гвоздика. Подвижет то, потому что она всех.
Нет, они... Ну, что такое? Рано не растет. Это не Москва. Есть на рынок как запад Екатеринбург. То есть все здесь привозное. Цена не свежая.
This group of Russians are part of a small community living in Norway's far north. They've gathered on this frozen and barren ground to honor their dead.
Give us some flowers. Are there any left?
We need to hand more out. Who doesn't have any flowers? Take some. We don't hand out flowers in the Arctic every day.
Today we celebrate the 80th anniversary of our victory. I don't intend to deliver a eulogy, but rather remind you of the history of how we defended Spitsbergen against Nazi invaders, so this knowledge can be passed on to future generations, undistorted and unaltered. Place the flowers in front of the monument.
The Second World War is long over, but the current global context has seen the Eastern and Western blocs returning, and this territory has become highly sought after. The Svalbard archipelago near the North Pole is made up of 30 islands. This gateway to the Arctic is a desert of ice, where bitter wind lashes at faces and numbs fingers. A land at the edge of the world, one rich in minerals, oil, and gas. A hostile, natural wilderness that has taken centuries for humans to tame. A treaty signed in 1920 declared it neutral territory. The 45 signatory countries can all exploit its natural resources, with a governor ensuring the treaty is upheld. His officers overlook Longyearbyen, Svalbard's administrative capital. Lars Foss took up the post 4 years ago. This former prosecutor was named governor by King Harald V. He owns his own copy of the famous treaty.
This is the replica. It's the same size as the original treaty. You can see it is written in two languages, English and French. The original treaty is kept in Paris. The Svalbard Treaty is the only one currently in force here since the Versailles negotiations after the First World War. The main aspect is that it recognizes Norwegian sovereignty over Svalbard.
Today, of the 45 signatory countries, only Russia exploits the mineral resources of the archipelago. Russia has 2 colonies, as they call them, 2 villages. The main one, Barentsburg, lies 40 kilometers from Longyearbyen, which is 3 hours by boat. Nobody on the boat wants to answer our questions. We've arrived in Barentsburg, a town covered in ice under the gaze of Lenin's statue. The motto here hasn't changed over the decades. Our goal is communism. There's almost nobody around. Barentsburg proudly displays what remains of its Soviet past. Nostalgia frozen in the snow. It's been administered by a Russian state-owned company since 1931, Trust Arctic Kugol, translated as the Arctic Coal Trust. At its head is Ildar Neverov, a Muscovite close to the government. He agreed to an interview provided we didn't mention Putin or the war in Ukraine. His battles lie elsewhere.
Trust Arctic Kugol is a modern state-owned company that manages coal mining and oversees Russian colonies on the Spitsbergen archipelago. The archipelago's original name is Spitsbergen, even if the Norwegians call it Svalbard. The real Spitsbergen is here in Barentsburg, if we want to be precise.
Barentsburg has 350 inhabitants. Most are Russians and pro-Kremlin Ukrainians from Donbass. All of them rely on 24-year-old Daria, the Trust's deputy executive director. Since she arrived 2 years ago, she's been in constant demand. She's responsible for managing the village's daily affairs.
60% of the inhabitants are minors. They come with their family, their wives, their children, and sometimes they also come with their parents. And why do people from Donbass come here to live? Historically, they've been coming here since Soviet times. They came to extract coal because this labor was in high demand. And also the mines in Donbass are similar to the ones in Barentsburg, so they don't need special training. The miners adapt easily to the work here.
Barentsburg was built around the coal mine. The first level of the mine is 170 meters below ground level. Around 120,000 tons of coal are extracted here every year, providing the village with electricity and heat. But the mine itself is no longer profitable. It mainly continues running so the Russians can justify their presence here.
И сейчас мы с вами зайдем в саму шахту.
Miners work at a depth of 800 meters, but it's impossible to film them. A mine official soon interrupts the tour.
Why is it forbidden to make picture of the coal?
Just boss said that you can shoot everywhere in the tunnels, but not in the channel we look at the...
Okay.
We are politely escorted to the exit. In Barentsburg, we're only allowed to film what the authorities agree to show us. They select the only people we're allowed to meet, such as the village Orthodox priest. This pillar of the community officiates in a room at the cultural center every Sunday. Piotr was only recently ordained as a priest. He's just moved to the village with his wife and their 11-month-old son. In Barentsburg, as across practically all of Russia, the Orthodox Church supports Vladimir Putin's regime.
Слава тебе, Боже! Слава тебе, Боже! Слава тебе, Боже!
The couple head out to explore the village and seem to be extremely happy with what they've found.
Family life in Barentsburg is pleasant. Here, people have to stick together. They stand, so to speak, on the front lines of defending family values. Here, there's an almost magical union of all the cells of society. Everything works well, thanks be to God.
But not everything is perfect in Barentsburg. Residents also endure the economic sanctions imposed by Europe on Russia since the war in Ukraine began. The impact is visible in the only grocery shop in the village. All the products here are imported from Russia. We're allowed to film, but nobody is willing to talk. Payment can only be made with the Spitcoin cards issued by Trust Archipelago, which runs the town. Purchases are directly deducted from people's wages. But what they want to buy needs to be available.
Ульяна, сегодня приведут что-нибудь, как думаешь, к вечеру? Точно? Фрукты?
Of course, with the economic sanctions, organizing supplies has been somewhat more complicated. We can't import or purchase things from Europe. We must look for similar products in Russia and start importing them from Russia. It took us a long time to find our new suppliers.
Once a month, Barentsburg is supplied by a container ship coming straight from Murmansk in Russia, 1,300 kilometers away.
Его можно и так оставить. На стенке. Вот так пускай стоит, все. Не, спеши сюда один станет.
Those in charge of respecting the European embargo are the Norwegian customs officers.
The customs has been here for about 3 years now, after the war broke out between Russia and Ukraine. We are here to control the sanctions rules against Russia and to see what kind of goods who come here to Svalbard from Russia or the mainland. We take control of the boat to check the containers with mining equipments and food and other stuff, supplies here to Barentsburg.
On this day, 17 Russian containers were handed over and inspected. Nothing to report. But the customs officers are still wary. Svalbard waters are key in the Russian-Ukrainian war. Russia has been financing its war in Ukraine with an armada of ghost ships transporting gas and oil. These vessels with no GPS are easily able to circumvent international sanctions. Svalbard's geostrategic position is crucial to control Arctic waters, an important issue for Norway. In Longyearbyen, the town's mayor is fully aware of this.
As far as the geostrategic position is concerned, You have to remember that the Russians have their largest submarine base and their greatest secure second strike capabilities for nuclear retaliation near the Norwegian border. And this base allows them to get beyond the ice in the north.
Since 2022, Norway has reinforced Coast Guard patrols around the archipelago, a position criticized by the Kremlin, accusing NATO of violating the 1920 treaty stating that Svalbard cannot be used for military purposes.
The treaty is clear over aspects concerning land facilities, like defense infrastructure or naval bases. They're prohibited. As for our NATO membership, it's quite straightforward. Svalbard is part of Norway, and Norway is a member of NATO. That imposes certain obligations both on us and on NATO. In a way, you can say that's the starting point.
Back in Barentsburg, and we're meeting with South African national Martinique. She came to live here 2 years ago.
I came to the island as a tourist for 20 days and never left. So, yeah. It's a very intense place to live. And so you have to really, you meet yourself here. You kind of meet yourself, you know. It's a place where you can very, very quickly, very easily kind of lose your mind a little bit because it's like such a crazy environment. It's like living on the moon. This town, these people, they become like family to me. They like adopted me.
We were able to meet Martinique because she works in Trust Archipelago's communication department, posting photos, music and videos on social media. In other words, she helps disseminate Russian propaganda.
They're so attached to honor, like honoring their history, their roots, the people that died before them, you know, like they have such deep respect. And I do not think that you should have an opinion about a place that you've never been to and about a people that you don't know. And these people are residents of Barentsburg, and that has nothing to do with what their president is doing down below.
Yet 69% of Barentsburg residents voted for Vladimir Putin in the last presidential election. And every occasion is seized as a chance to glorify Russia, or rather the Soviet Union. Barentsburg brings out its hammer and sickle flag every year for the parade on the 9th of May. Residents must also carry portraits of their ancestors who died during the Second World War.
Дорогие друзья, жители поселка Баренцбург, гости, рады вас приветствовать на начале шествия «Бессмертный полк». Слово предоставляется генеральному консулу Российской Федерации на Шпицбергене Андрею Александровичу Чемерило.
The victory parade has just ended in Moscow, our country's capital, which welcomed many foreign guests and heads of state. Our soldiers marched, fulfilling with honor their duty in the field of the special operation.
The special operation, or in other words, the war in Ukraine.
Идем в едином строю, с благодарностью в сердце и с гордостью за нашу великую историю.
Я як истребитель, мотор мой звенит, небо моя обитель. Но тот, который во мне сидит, считает, что он истребитель. В этом бою мною юнкер спит.
Сейчас мы предлагаем снять видеодневник. Вам необходимо будет всем вместе по моей команде на счет 3 громко крикнуть «С Днем Победы!».
Итак, все улезают, 3-4. Улыбаемся.
Раз, два, три. С Днем Победы! Ура!
Communism, Nazism, the war in Ukraine, and religion all come together in this victory parade.
Христос воскресе! С Днем Победы! Ура! Ура! Ура!
Norwegians are not invited to this ceremony. Even so, open conflict with the Russian community is out of the question.
It's crucial that we establish dialogue. Without that, we'll make no progress. We should keep channels open for dialogue. One day the situation will change, and then we'll have to normalize things.
A week after these commemorations, Norway celebrates its own National Day on the 17th of May in Longyearbyen. They've invited Father Piotr and Daria, who are accompanying a group of Barentsburg pupils. They've left their Russian and Soviet flags at home.
One of the great things is that May 17th reminds us what Norway is truly about.
The mayor's speech is being simultaneously translated into Russian.
Norway is a nation built on freedom and trust, something worth much more than oil and gas. Thank you for coming together here. As part of a large community where Longyearbyen and Barentsburg schools, the young and the old, with different passports, can all work together. In the parade, the closest thing to a weapon is the bass drumstick of the newspaper's editor-in-chief who plays in the brass band. Happy National Day.
A collective parade, almost hand in hand, with the hope of being able to get along one day.
The number of bears in Spitsbergen is double the number of inhabitants, so we must stick together. It is important, of course, to live in friendship in such a small piece of land. We must remain united to confront evil together in all its possible forms.
Remain united, but under what conditions? Russia has already planned the future of Svalbard's youth. It's just released 30 million euros for its colonies.
It doesn't matter who runs the town and the Russian settlement on the Spitsbergen archipelago. We have a plan, and that plan is very clear. The colonies must be renovated and rebuilt. The infrastructures will be modernized. The transport system will be improved. And we will establish direct connections between Russia and the Spitsbergen archipelago. Our colonies will experience a very significant growth, and they will expand. That is what the plan envisages.
A plan that mainly aims to revive Svalbard's second Russian colony, Pyramiden. A ghost town that was the USSR's Arctic showcase in the 1960s. Russia will build its International Scientific Research Center here with its allied countries, including China and Iran. With one goal in mind: reinforcing its presence and extending its influence on European soil.